Alright guys, hi, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to do another video of celebrity astrology. So I did Billie Eilish, I think it's Eilish, is her last name. So she's really popular now. She kind of rose to fame, very quickly. She has been doing quite a lot, in the media world for quite some time, and she has a very interesting style, which I'm going to talk about in this chart. I just briefly glanced at her chart. I didn't really get into it as much as I wanted to, but this is the first chart of all the celebrities that I've done so far that actually has a birth time. So that means this chart is going to be a lot more accurate and a lot more depth to it than the other readings that I had been doing. So she was born December 18th, 2001 at 11:30 a.m. in Los Angeles. So if you guys don't know, first of all, this website I use is Astro Theme. I personally love it. It's just really organized. I like it. So anywho, without further ado, let's scroll down to her chart. So this is her chart right here. It's quite interesting, quite unique. So a couple things that I'm gonna, well, first thing I'm gonna start with, we we have her sun in Sagittarius right here, conjunct her midheaven, also conjunct Venus, and also conjunct Mercury. Yeah, conjunct Venus, Mercury, yep, and midheaven, yep. So that is a very unique solar expression. So sun in Sagittarius already by itself is a very exuberant, very fun, very funny, entertaining sign. And then we have Venus in Sagittarius, which is going to amplify that energy a little bit more, make it a little bit more beautiful, a little bit more artistic, a little bit more unique. And then we have that Mercury in Capricorn conjunct that as well. So that's going to add a little bit of a more hardened flavor, a little bit more of a more pessimistic sort of tone, more pessimistic sort of way of speaking, because Mercury in Capricorn is it's ruled by Saturn, so it's a very negative like outlook on life. As time progresses, they are going to become more mature, and Saturn, like any Capricorn placements, tend to be a lot more mature than most, but also they do have a negative stint to them as well, so they are gonna it's gonna be kind of common for them to have more negative emotions and negative sort of thoughts and outlooks and whatnot. But we have both that, her sun and her Mercury in the 10th house. Her sun is conjunct her midheaven, her Venus is also conjunct her midheaven. So that just kind of shows a very, an artistic life, a very exuberant life. Her world is going to be very much in the public eye. Having a 10th house energy, makes you very in the public, very noticeable, very seen and stuff like that. So that's something that she wanted, and that's something that she definitely got in this life. Maybe not in the way that she intended, because it actually turns out, I don't know if many of you know this, but she actually started off as a dancer, and she was dancing for quite some time before she started releasing music. And she wanted to be a dancer. And then the music just kind of happened, and now she's become an amazing musician, and she just kind of created this whole new sort of wave of anti-pop, which is super unique. And so she's a super unique person. She has a super unique outlook and way of speaking, and it's just really, really cool to look at. So that's her sun. We also have her moon in Aquarius. So I know I spoke about this a little bit with the Shawn Mendes video, with having a moon in Aquarius. Because having the moon in Aquarius makes you a very likable person. Your emotions are very in tune with the collective, because Aquarius is a collective. It's also social media. So you could definitely find a lot of emotional security online and emotional connection online, a lot of friendships online. Just a very, just belonging to a group is something that really matters to these moon Aquarius people. Belonging to something bigger, and being able to be a part of something bigger is really important to these people. It's what makes them emotionally feel secure. So we have her moon kind of edged perfectly between her Neptune and her Uranus. So that's a very interesting combination. Haven't seen anything like that in quite some time. Her moon technically falls right in her 12th house. The Neptune is in her 11th, and the Uranus is in her 12th. And so because of that, her moon is her emotions, and how she is in regards to security. So she could be a very private person. She could be a person that likes to kind of explore art and explore different forms of presentation and articulation and expression, and really just dig into themselves in an artistically expressive way. Because of the moon kind of being wedged between that Neptune and Uranus energy in Aquarius, her emotions are going to be very erratic, very different. I would definitely advise her not to get involved with drugs or go into anything along those lines, because having moon conjunct Neptune, especially having moon in the 12th house, makes her a very dreamy person, makes it very likely for her to have an addictive personality, so she could get very involved in the drug world as well. But also on the flip side of that, having a lot of 12th house energy or moon Neptune energy is going to make her very artistic, very able to kind of rise above that if she chooses to, and be able to really just feel connected to something higher. Feel like she is expressing something in a godlike way, or in a way that is connected to divine energy. That is something that is very common of a moon Neptune person on the higher evolved form. There is some erraticness to that energy as well. Having that moon in Aquarius also conjunct Uranus makes you quite emotionally erratic. And if you actually look at that, I don't know if you guys can see, but there's that little blue line that is going down to that Saturn there. So everything I kind of was talking about, the risk of drugs, the risk of being erratic, that Saturn energy is going to kind of subdue that and make it a little bit less likely for her to, or a lot less likely actually for her to do any of those things. Saturn is in the sign of Gemini for her. So because of that, a lot of her stuff has to do with the mind and exploring communication and exploring her words and being able to communicate well. So because Gemini rules the mind, I don't know if psychedelics would necessarily help her in this situation. I know that just, exploring the psyche and exploring words and the psychology and all of that stuff would definitely assist her in communication. And then she also has her North Node in Gemini in the 4th house. So that's a kind of unique placement. It's almost exactly conjunct her IC. So there's going to be a need for her to want to be emotionally secure. She has all these energies around emotional security. Her moon with Neptune and Uranus trining her Saturn, and then she has her North Node in the 4th house, as well as Jupiter in Cancer. So she has a lot of moon-like energy, emotional energy that needs to be contained, that needs to be understood, that needs to be felt. And it's really important for her to really feel her emotions and go through the emotional process and get in touch with what her emotions are and what she's feeling, because she could be very much swept away by a lot of other people. It's very common and very likely that she is an empath, and she's able to feel other people's emotions and get in tune with them in that way. But as long as she really understands what her emotional nature is and really understands how she feels things, that's really what's going to help her in the long run. As having a Jupiter in Cancer and having a lot of moon energy here, a lot of 4th house energy, 10th house energy, is really that balance between the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And for her, it's really asking her to go into that divine feminine and being very, soft and being motherly and caring. And I'm not saying she's not capable of that by any means. But I do believe that she definitely would benefit from, more emotional caring, and being more emotionally centered and feeling things more. I'm not saying she's not, because, having a lot of 12th house energy that she has, and having, a lot of, that Mercury in Capricorn, I could definitely see that she's depressed and has a lot of, self-worth sort of issues. But I would definitely also say that she gets a lot of her emotional validation through a lot of other people and through groups. So it would just be something that would be very, very unique for her. I think the more she expresses her emotions and expresses how she feels and feels safe to do that, feels safe to be herself, I feel like that's going to really propel her into a much more better light and a better, not saying she's in a bad light now, but it would just definitely propel her into a more relatable person. And I think with how she is, I think that's why she's so relatable, because she's so honest and upfront about her flaws. And I think that's something that's very, very beautiful. And I think the more she does that, the better it's going to be. I actually just watched an interview about her, a Calvin Klein commercial, how she said that she doesn't she always wears baggy clothes because she doesn't want people to see her, see her the way she is, her physical body, because they'll have nothing to say. They'll have no critiques because they've never seen her. And that's a very interesting and unique approach to fame and to being in the spotlight. And I think it's very, very symbolic of the need for this North Node, 4th house, and Jupiter in Cancer, and the Moon and Neptune, Moon and 12th house energies. All of those energies are all about hiding that emotional nature and developing that emotional nature and developing that comfort. I really do feel like she rushed into, not really rushed, but it was just kind of happened to her. She just had this fame, and it all kind of happened at once. It happened within the span of a couple. I know it was building for quite some time, but it happened quite quickly. And she definitely wants to feel comfortable to express herself and be herself. And I think that's definitely what's making her the most unique and what's making her stand out. She has a very unique sound. She has a very unique life. So something I'm going to talk about really, really quickly. I don't have much time because I want to keep these videos kind of short. So there's two things I want to talk about. So first, her Saturn in Gemini. So her Saturn in Gemini is actually opposite her Pluto. So I would definitely make sure that she's not in an abusive relationship. Make sure she's not in a negative relationship around drugs or alcohol or anything like that, because it's very likely that she'll definitely find someone like that, or find maybe her father figure was like that, or something along those lines. But it's really interesting because we have that Saturn in Gemini, which is all about communication, and we have that Pluto opposite in Sagittarius, and it's really unique because she has this anti-pop of communication, or anti-pop style that she does, and having that Saturn in Gemini and learning how to communicate herself and her feelings, which is a Gemini-like thing. We have that opposite Pluto, which is these dark, depressing, deep, kind of twisted way of the world and worldviews. And she's able to kind of merge those two together. And it's a very unique energy to have, having that Saturn opposite Pluto. I would definitely advise her against any like reckless driving, because I do feel like she would not benefit from reckless driving at all. Having that Saturn in the 3rd house and Pluto opposite that. Saturn-Pluto opposition is quite intense. So like I said, just abusive relationships, avoid that. Avoid feeling like you're not worth enough, and really just feel like you're definitely worth more, because you are. You really are. The other thing I want to talk about is her Mars in Pisces in the 12th house, squared by her Saturn. And let's actually look at the other aspects that we got here. So it's squared by her Saturn, trine by Jupiter, and sextile by Mars. So the only thing I'm really going to say about this with the Mars in the 12th house is depression. That's a very common thing, being unable to express yourself, being unable to motivate yourself because you're just not feeling it. But Mars in Pisces can also be a very spiritual place for Mars. Mars doesn't really like to be in Pisces, but if you can master the energies of Mars in Pisces, it will definitely benefit you to be able to listen to your intuition and follow that, and follow your inner guidance system, and really have the best life because of that. And ultimately, she has that square Saturn, which is going to ultimately, in the end of the day, make it a little bit hardened, a little bit more, concrete. But it's definitely something that I would advise her, once again, not do drugs, not do those things, because although it alters her state and opens her mind, I don't think it's something that she should partake in right now. I think, as she gets older, I think definitely it would. I think this fame definitely happened quite quickly for her, and she rose to fame quite quickly, and I think it's something that I would definitely advise her to kind of slow down, take time for yourself, especially. So yeah, I don't really know. I don't know her personally, but this is her chart, and this is my interpretation of it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you guys like the video, make sure to put a like down below, comment, subscribe, whatever you think. If you think my interpretation is accurate, comment what you think about it. Let me know. I will be doing more celebrity astrology videos as well in the future, but this is just the one I wanted to make now for Billie Eilish. So yeah, she is quite interesting, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. I've said that about 5,000 times. But yeah, you guys are great. I love you guys. Have a great rest of your day. All right, bye.